She swears she chose you. She'll tell her friends about your charm, your humor, your intelligence. She'll list all the logical reasons why you two are perfect together. She believes every word of it. But deep in the neural pathways of her brain, forces she's completely unaware of have been pulling the strings all along. You think attraction is about compatibility, shared values, or genuine connection. Think again. The human brain operates like a machine designed millions of years ago, running on software so primitive it can be hacked by anyone who understands the basic programming language of human psychology. Today, I'm going to expose 12 mind games so subtle, so deeply embedded in our evolutionary wiring, that women fall under their influence without ever realizing they're being influenced at all. These aren't just psychological curiosities. They're the invisible puppet strings controlling every romantic decision she thinks she's making freely. Welcome to the dark side of human attraction, where free will is an illusion and love is just biochemistry dressed up in poetry. Walk through any relationship that seems inexplicable. The woman who fell for the guy who seemed completely wrong for her, the couple whose romance bloomed from nowhere, the partnerships that defied all logic, and you'll find these 12 mechanisms operating in the shadows. They're not accidents, they're not coincidences, they're the result of exploiting fundamental flaws in how the female brain processes attraction. What makes these mind games so powerful is their invisibility. The woman experiencing them believes her feelings are authentic, organic, self-generated. She has no idea that her emotions are being manufactured by psychological phenomena that operate below the threshold of conscious awareness. She's not choosing to fall in love, she's being programmed to fall in love. This programming happens so seamlessly that even questioning its existence seems absurd. After all, how can something that feels so real be artificial? How can emotions that seem so genuine be the result of mental manipulation? The answer lies in understanding that the brain doesn't distinguish between authentic feelings and chemically induced ones. To your nervous system, manufactured love feels identical to the real thing. Deep in the neural wiring of human psychology lies a fundamental flaw that smart men have exploited for centuries. The human brain will torture itself to maintain logical consistency. When you ask a woman for a small favor and she complies, her mind faces an uncomfortable contradiction. Why would she help someone she doesn't care about? The brain resolves this conflict by deciding she must care about you more than she realized. This isn't just theory, it's mental jujitsu. You're using her own psychological need for consistency against her. She helps you carry something, brings you coffee, gives you a ride, and each tiny act of assistance becomes evidence that she must like you. Otherwise, why would she be doing these things? The beauty of the favor paradox lies in its reverse psychology. Instead of trying to prove your worth to her, you're making her prove her feelings to herself. Every favor becomes a small investment in your relationship, and the brain, desperate to justify its investments, inflates the value of what it's investing in. Women fall into this trap because they assume their actions reflect their feelings, when actually their feelings are being shaped by their actions. She thinks she's helping you because she likes you, but she's actually liking you because she's helping you. The causation runs backward and she never sees it coming. The most sophisticated players understand that the size of the favor matters less than the frequency. Small, repeated requests create stronger psychological bonds than occasional large ones because they establish patterns of investment that the brain must continuously justify. The human body is a terrible detective when it comes to identifying its own emotional states. When a woman's heart races, her breathing quickens and adrenaline floods her system, her brain has to decide what's causing these physiological changes, and that decision can be manipulated by whoever controls the context. Take her somewhere that triggers fight or flight response, a horror movie, an extreme sport, a thrilling adventure, and her cardiovascular system will flood her with the exact same chemicals produced by romantic attraction. Her brain, faced with explaining these intense physical sensations, will attribute them to whatever seems most relevant in the moment. If you're there during the arousal, you become the explanation. This is physiological sleight of hand. You're hijacking her body's alarm system and redirecting its output toward romantic feelings. The terror from a scary movie becomes the thrill of being with you. The adrenaline from a challenging physical activity becomes the excitement of your company. Her body creates the chemistry of attraction, and her mind assigns you the credit. Women have no conscious defense against this because the feelings generated are completely real. The brain can't distinguish between arousal caused by external stimuli and arousal caused by genuine romantic interest. Both feel identical to the nervous system. Both create the same addictive chemical cocktail. Both get filed in memory as evidence of attraction. The cruelest aspect of arousal misattribution is its permanence. Even after the artificial stimulus is removed, the association between you and those intense feelings remains. She'll remember feeling alive, excited, electrically charged in your presence, never realizing that her cardiovascular system was doing your marketing for you. The human brain operates on a simple survival heuristic. If something hasn't killed you yet, it's probably safe. If it's safe, it might be good. If you encounter it repeatedly without negative consequences, it must be valuable. This lazy mental shortcut can be exploited to manufacture attraction through nothing more than strategic positioning. The mere exposure effect works like a slow-acting love potion. Show up in her orbit consistently. Same coffee shop, same gym, same elevator, same social circles, and her brain will gradually upgrade your status from stranger to familiar presence to somebody worth noticing. She won't realize this is happening because the process operates below conscious awareness. Familiarity doesn't just breed comfort, it breeds preference. Studies show people develop positive feelings toward faces they've seen repeatedly, even when they can't consciously remember seeing them before. Your face becomes associated with the routine safety of her daily life, and safety transforms into affinity without her permission or awareness. This isn't about stalking or harassment. It's about understanding that proximity has psychological power. The woman who sees you regularly in neutral, non-threatening contexts begins to experience you as part of her comfortable, predictable world. You become human wallpaper, and humans develop unconscious affection for their familiar surroundings. The most effective practitioners of familiarity hijacking understand timing and context. They appear in her environment frequently enough to register, but not so much as to seem intrusive. They become part of the landscape of her life, a reliable constant that her brain learns to associate with stability and comfort. Nothing accelerates attraction like the rumor that it already exists. When a woman discovers that you're interested in her, she doesn't just process this information. She's biologically compelled to reevaluate her own feelings. The brain treats mutual interest like insider stock information, suddenly making her aware of investment opportunities she'd previously overlooked. Reciprocal liking works because uncertainty is psychologically expensive. When she knows you're interested, she can stop wasting mental energy wondering about your feelings and redirect that cognitive power toward examining her own. The mere knowledge that attraction is possible makes her brain scan for evidence of compatible chemistry. This creates a feedback loop of manufactured affection. She looks for reasons to like you because she knows you like her. Finding those reasons validates the original interest, which makes her feel more confident about developing stronger feelings. Each confirmation strengthens the next round of attraction, building momentum that feels completely natural. The power of reciprocal liking lies in its ability to eliminate the primary barrier to romantic connection, fear of rejection. When she knows the feeling is mutual, she gives herself permission to explore attraction she might have suppressed if the outcome seemed uncertain. You're not just revealing your interest, you're licensing hers. Smart operators understand that the revelation of mutual interest must seem accidental or come from third-party sources. Direct declarations feel calculated. Overheard conversations or shared confidences feel authentic. The goal is for her to discover your feelings in a way that seems unmanipulated, even though the discovery itself is carefully orchestrated. The female brain has been programmed by millions of years of evolution to feel comfortable with similarity and suspicious of difference. This ancient survival mechanism can be exploited through what psychologists call the chameleon effect, unconsciously mimicking someone's behavior until they feel an inexplicable connection to you. Mirror her posture, match her speaking rhythm, echo her energy levels, and her brain will interpret these similarities as signs of compatibility. She'll feel understood, synchronized, in harmony with someone who seems to naturally share her wavelength. What she won't realize is that you're deliberately creating this artificial resonance. The mirroring manipulation works because it operates beneath conscious detection. She doesn't notice that you're copying her gestures or matching her tone. She only experiences the warm feeling of being with someone who seems naturally compatible. Her brain assumes this synchronicity as evidence of deep connection, rather than deliberate imitation. This psychological mimicry creates a false sense of intimacy. When someone moves like you, talks like you, and responds like you, your primitive brain categorizes them as part of your tribe. They feel safe, familiar, like an extension of yourself. The attraction that develops feels organic because the mirroring bypasses logical analysis and speaks directly to evolutionary bonding mechanisms. The most sophisticated practitioners of emotional mirroring understand subtlety. They don't copy everything. They select key elements of behavior, mood, and communication style to echo back. They become emotional chameleons, adapting their presentation to match what each woman's brain is programmed to find most attractive. The human brain has a fundamental flaw in how it assesses value. It confuses rarity with worth. Tell a woman that something is limited, difficult to obtain, or available only briefly, and her mind will automatically inflate its importance. This cognitive error can be exploited to make yourself seem more valuable than you actually are. The scarcity principle works by triggering loss aversion, one of the most powerful psychological forces governing human decision-making. When something seems like it might disappear, the brain focuses intensely on acquiring it before the opportunity vanishes. Applied to relationships, this means that being slightly unavailable makes you significantly more attractive. Create artificial scarcity around your time, attention, and availability, and women will invest more mental energy in securing these resources. The busy man with a packed schedule seems more valuable than the man who's always free. The person with multiple options appears more desirable than someone who seems to need her validation. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about demonstrating that you're hard to get. There's a crucial difference between artificial unavailability and genuine scarcity based on having a rich, full life. Women can sense the difference between manufactured busyness and authentic demand for your time and energy. The cruelest irony of scarcity manipulation is that genuine interest makes you seem less attractive, while strategic disinterest makes you seem like a prize worth winning. The woman's brain interprets your limited availability as evidence that you must be valuable. Otherwise, why would you be so selective with your time? The most powerful psychological force for creating addiction isn't constant reward, it's unpredictable reward. Casinos learned this decades ago when they discovered that variable ratio reinforcement schedules create stronger compulsive behavior than fixed rewards. The same principle can be weaponized in romantic relationships. Intermittent reinforcement in dating works by creating an emotional slot machine. Sometimes you respond immediately to her messages, sometimes you take hours or days. Sometimes you're incredibly attentive, sometimes you're mysteriously distant. This unpredictability keeps her brain constantly trying to decode the pattern, creating obsessive thoughts about you. The female mind becomes addicted to solving the puzzle of your behavior. When your attention comes unpredictably, each instance of positive reinforcement creates a stronger neurochemical response than consistent kindness ever could. Her brain gets hooked on trying to figure out how to consistently earn your focus and approval. This manipulation works because uncertainty is psychologically activating. When she can predict your responses, her brain relaxes and stops paying attention. When your reactions are variable, her mind stays alert, constantly analyzing and strategizing about how to maintain your interest. This mental preoccupation gets interpreted as romantic fascination. The most effective practitioners of intermittent reinforcement understand timing and intensity. They create enough positive experiences to keep her engaged, while introducing enough unpredictability to maintain psychological tension. They become human gambling machines, dispensing just enough reward to keep her playing the game. Human psychology includes a powerful bias toward consistency. Once someone makes a small commitment, they're psychologically compelled to honor progressively larger commitments to maintain their self-image as someone who follows through. This cognitive trap can be exploited to gradually increase a woman's investment in a relationship. The foot-in-the-door technique starts with tiny requests that seem insignificant. Can she give you her number? Can she meet you for coffee? Can she introduce you to her friends? Each small yes makes the next request easier to grant because saying no would contradict the pattern of previous agreements. This progressive commitment strategy works because the brain hates cognitive dissonance. Once she's invested time, energy, and social capital in getting to know you, her mind will justify these investments by inflating your value. She can't admit that all this effort was wasted on someone unworthy, so she convinces herself you must be worth it. The escalation happens so gradually that she never notices how her boundaries are being systematically dissolved. What started as casual coffee becomes dinner, dinner becomes staying over becomes exclusive dating. Each step seems like a natural progression, but the progression itself was engineered through strategic request sequencing. The most insidious aspect of commitment escalation is that it makes her feel like she's choosing each step freely. She doesn't realize that her choices are being carefully guided through psychological manipulation. She thinks she's following her heart when she's actually following a predetermined script designed to maximize her investment. Once the female brain categorizes someone as physically attractive, it stops thinking critically about their other qualities. This cognitive shortcut, known as the halo effect, causes women to automatically attribute positive characteristics to people they find visually appealing. But this bias can be reverse engineered and exploited even by men who aren't conventionally attractive. The halo effect isn't just about physical beauty, it's about creating any kind of positive first impression that becomes a lens through which all subsequent interactions are interpreted. Demonstrate competence, confidence, or charisma in one area, and her brain will assume you possess these qualities across all areas of your life. This psychological bias works because thinking is expensive, and the brain looks for shortcuts wherever possible. Rather than carefully evaluating each aspect of your personality separately, her mind takes the cognitive easy path of assuming that someone who seems good in one way must be good in all ways. Create a powerful first impression through any positive trait: humor, intelligence, creativity, success, mystery. And her brain will use that initial assessment to filter all future information about you. Negative traits get minimized or explained away, while positive traits get amplified and generalized. The manipulation lies in understanding that the halo effect isn't limited to conventional attractiveness. Any form of perceived value can trigger the psychological bias that causes her to see you through rose-colored glasses. You're not changing who you are, you're changing how her brain processes who you are. Women don't just evaluate men individually, they evaluate them through the lens of how other people seem to value them. This social proof mechanism exists because the female brain uses other people's assessments as shortcuts for making its own judgments. If other women want you, you must be worth wanting. The social proof principle exploits a fundamental flaw in how humans assess value. Instead of making independent judgments, we crowdsource our opinions, especially about complex decisions like romantic partners. A woman's attraction to you isn't just based on your qualities, it's based on how much other people seem to appreciate those qualities. This creates a marketplace dynamic where your romantic value isn't intrinsic but comparative. The man surrounded by female attention appears more valuable than the identical man who seems to have no options. The brain assumes that multiple women wouldn't invest their time in someone worthless, so their interest becomes evidence of your worth. Social proof can be manufactured through strategic positioning. Be seen with other attractive women, have female friends vouch for your character, be the person others seek out at social gatherings. These demonstrations of social value become more persuasive than any direct attempt to prove your worth through personal qualities. The cruelest aspect of social validation is that it makes women compete for men they might not have wanted if those men seemed available. The appearance of demand creates actual demand, turning romantic interest into a psychological bidding war where scarcity drives up perceived value. The human brain doesn't record experiences accurately, it saves highlight reels. When remembering any interaction, the mind focuses primarily on the most intense moment and how things concluded. This memory bias can be exploited to make every encounter with you seem more positive than it actually was. The peak end rule means that women won't remember the total experience of being with you. They'll remember the best moment and the final impression. A 3-hour date with one incredible highlight and a strong ending will be recalled more positively than a consistently pleasant but unremarkable longer encounter. This psychological phenomenon allows you to engineer positive memories by strategically creating peak experiences and controlling conclusions. Plan activities with built-in climax moments, end interactions on high notes, create memorable highlights that will dominate her recollection of your time together. The manipulation works because memory is reconstruction, not playback. Each time she thinks about you, her brain rebuilds the experience from these key emotional markers. The peak moment becomes more vivid, the positive ending colors the entire memory, and the mundane middle portions fade into irrelevance. Smart operators understand that managing endings is as important as creating excitement. Always leave her wanting more. Conclude conversations at high points. End dates while energy is still positive. The last impression becomes the lasting impression, and the lasting impression shapes her feelings about seeing you again. The most powerful mind game combines multiple psychological principles into a single devastating technique. Advanced arousal misattribution doesn't just use fear or excitement. It systematically manipulates her entire physiological state to create the neurochemical signature of romantic attraction. This advanced technique involves creating situations where her body produces the exact chemical cocktail associated with falling in love: elevated heart rate, increased focus, heightened awareness, euphoric brain chemistry. But instead of these sensations arising from genuine romantic feelings, they're artificially induced through environmental control and psychological manipulation. The sophistication of advanced arousal hijacking lies in its multi-layered approach. Combine intermittent reinforcement with manufactured scarcity, add social proof and strategic mirroring, create peak experiences that end perfectly, and deploy the entire arsenal during moments of physiological activation. Her brain becomes overwhelmed with positive associations and chemical rewards, all connected to your presence. This comprehensive manipulation works because it attacks multiple psychological vulnerabilities simultaneously. While her conscious mind tries to analyze one element, 5 others are operating beneath her awareness. The cumulative effect creates feelings so intense and multifaceted that questioning their authenticity seems impossible. The ultimate power of advanced arousal manipulation is that it creates self-reinforcing cycles. The artificially generated attraction feels real, so she acts on it. Acting on it creates additional investment and commitment. Investment and commitment require psychological justification, which strengthens the feelings. The artificial becomes authentic through behavioral confirmation. These 12 mind games work because they exploit fundamental flaws in how the human brain processes attraction, makes decisions, and interprets its own emotions. They're not persuading women to like you. They're reprogramming the psychological software that determines how women experience you. The most disturbing aspect of these techniques isn't their effectiveness, it's their invisibility. The women experiencing them have no idea their feelings are being manufactured. They believe completely in the authenticity of emotions that were systematically engineered through psychological manipulation. Every relationship you've witnessed that seemed to make no logical sense, every attraction that defied rational explanation, every romantic connection that appeared to come from nowhere, they all become explainable when you understand that love isn't just emotion, it's also technology. Technology that can be learned, applied, and deployed by anyone who understands the basic programming language of human psychology. But here's the ultimate truth about these mind games. They work so well that even the person using them can fall under their spell. When you systematically create the conditions for attraction, you don't just manufacture her feelings, you manufacture your own. The puppet master becomes entangled in his own strings. The manipulator becomes a victim of his own manipulation. The brain can't distinguish between authentic connection and artificially generated chemistry. Both create the same neurological patterns, both produce the same addictive rewards, both feel equally real to the nervous system. The techniques that create fake love can evolve into genuine attachment, and the psychology that begins as manipulation can transform into authentic care. This is why these mind games are so dangerous, not just because they work, but because they work too well. They create relationships built on psychological exploitation that can evolve into real emotional bonds. They blur the line between authentic attraction and manufactured affection until the difference becomes meaningless. The 12 techniques I've revealed today aren't just tools for creating attraction, they're insights into the fundamental machinery of human connection. They expose the uncomfortable reality that much of what we call love is actually just biochemistry, responding to psychological triggers that can be deliberately activated. Understanding these mind games doesn't just make you more effective at creating attraction, it makes you more aware of when attraction is being created in you. Knowledge of the manipulation becomes protection from manipulation. Awareness of the techniques becomes immunity to their power. If this exploration of the hidden psychology controlling romantic attraction has opened your eyes to how human connection actually works, Subscribe to this channel for more insights into the invisible forces shaping every relationship in your life. Hit that notification bell, because understanding these patterns could transform not just how you approach romance, but how you interpret every emotional connection you experience. The mind games I've revealed today are always operating in every relationship, in every attraction, in every romantic connection. The only question is whether you're aware of them or unconsciously controlled by them. Knowledge is power, but in the realm of human psychology, knowledge is also freedom. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand that attraction isn't just chemistry, it's also technology. Technology that's been programming human relationships since the beginning of recorded history, operating in the shadows while we tell ourselves stories about destiny, compatibility, and true love. The puppet strings have always been there. Now you can see them.